that you would miss if you moved to Japan and you lived with us.
皆さん、こんにちは。アーサーです。今回の動画では、あなたの英語のリスニングを鍛えるためのネイティブ同士の会話をお届けしたいと思います。で、初めての方は、Welcome to this channel. I'm so happy you're here. このチャンネルでは、英語のフレーズ、文法を学ぶだけではなく、ネイティブの感覚も学べる動画をお届けしておりますので、よろしくお願いします。で、今回のネイティブ同士の会話のシリーズですが、いつもだと僕とアメリカ人の友達のオースンとの会話になるんですが、今回は特別に僕の父との会話になりました。夏に撮影したものですが、話題は日本に移住するのはどう？日本に移住したらどうしたいっていう話題だったんですね。今回の動画は相変わらずあなたのレッスン、あなたの理解度を確かめるための英語と日本語の字幕が両方ついていますので、ぜひご利用ください。ちなみにですね、この動画はもともと The Austin and Arthur Show っていう別のチャンネルで放送されたものになるんですね。で、そのチャンネルでは字幕がないのでちょっとハードルが高いと思うんですが、それでもいろんな会話に触れたい、いろんな会話が聞きたいと思っている方はぜひ The Austin and Arthur Show をご覧ください。ちなみにですね、これからこの後はアメリカの、クリスマスの帰省のため、またお父さんとお話しする機会があるので、何か聞きたい話がありましたら、ぜひコメント欄で残してくださいね。And with that, let's get started.
Alright, hey, cheers.
Cheers, homie.
So today, we're at, not my childhood home, but we're at the house that you live in. And I'm going to blur out the number up there so no one knows what number house this is.
Okay.
But today, I wanted to talk with you about your life in here, like life in the United States versus life in Japan. I know you've never lived in Japan, but you visited me a few times. You've kind of seen things. And just to tell everyone, the reason we're doing this now is because I'm in Japan. I'm in the United States for a month, and I forgot to film enough with Austin, so we're doing this as like an extra episode. So no pressure.
I don't feel the pressure.
Your second rung. Yeah. So I want to ask you first, talking about like when you think about my life in Japan or when you've come and visited me versus like lifestyle here, what's like the first like image that comes to mind as like a difference or something like that?
Well, one big difference is that you do a lot more walking in your everyday life than we do here.
Yeah.
Just walking to the subway station, the train station, or to your office. And when I visit you and I hang with you and I go with you all these places because I want to spend the time with you, I probably walk at least five times as much as I walk here.
So what's your walking lifestyle here? Because you work and live here.
My walking lifestyle here is pretty much I walk from this door to the car or my motorcycle, and then I drive to work. And that's unfortunately the way it is because public transportation, even though it exists, it's not very easy to use or timely in terms of getting you from A to B. And it's just very inconvenient. So, and on the other hand, the distances are quite large. You know, my office is 6 miles from here, so that's 10 kilometers. So I have to drive. There's no way around it.
Yeah, you know, so where we used to live, right? We lived near like the commuter rail that goes into Boston. So how long does it take to drive from like the center of Boston to where we are now?
Well, that depends a lot on the
not
time
on
of
rush
day
hour. So let's just say it's like non-rush hour, kind of like right now it's a Sunday.
Right. From the center of Boston, you would have to allow a minimum of 40 minutes. So I would say 40 to 45 minutes in general. If I were going non-rush hour, I would allow at least 45 minutes to get
Okay.
in there. It's about 10 miles away.
10 miles away? Okay. Yeah, and so like I know for us, like there was a commuter rail actually kind of close to where we live. And how much does the commuter rail normally cost? Do you remember?
I think it's currently $8.
$8 now?
Yeah.
Well, last time I was here was like $7.25.
Yeah. So it's 8 now. Yeah, it's going up.
Yeah, and how frequent is it to go into Boston? Like
it is. Well, it varies throughout the day. It's more frequent during rush hour, but in general, you could say it's once an hour.
Yeah, once an hour. And then the buses too. Like, do you ever take the buses here? Mom sometimes takes the buses if she needs to.
Very rarely. Because, again, well, mainly because they're even less predictable than the trains.
Yeah.
They have to stop. I don't know if there are any express buses. So the regular buses will make a stop every, at least every quarter of a mile.
Yeah.
And then, sometimes they're very crowded, other times they're not. But it's just not. It's neither comfortable nor convenient.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get that a lot. I mean, so technically where I live in Japan, it's really close to Tokyo, and so there's buses and stuff like that. But, even when we go out to where Natsumi lives in Niigata, which is really far away from Tokyo, the buses are pretty good. Like, it's actually funny now that you mention it, because she, in her childhood home is located about a 15-minute walk away from the nearest train station, which is kind of like how the house that you grew up in was like. Right. I mean, it was like a 10-minute walk, right?
Right.
But still, it's kind of like the same thing. And I really thought, her family would pick me up from the train station from Tokyo and stuff. But the train runs frequently enough it runs like once every 30 minutes, 45 minutes, to the point where like I don't even need them to drive me to get to their house. Like, if I had to go back home for an emergency, I could just go on my own and come back. And I've actually done that before, but that would be kind of not as convenient here, even though we're a lot closer.
Right.
That's
right. And another disadvantage of our train system is that there are not enough stops on the line so that you can get anywhere you want to by foot.
Yeah.
So, for example, there are just places between here and the next train stop that would be impractical for me to take the train to try to get there, because I would have to walk 20 minutes, 25 minutes from the train station to the place I'm going.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get that. So we walk a lot, okay. And what's something here? Well, let's start with the negative. We'll end with the positive. So what's something that you really like here, that in the lifestyle, not necessarily just the scenery. I mean, we're right next to the beach and that's beautiful, right? But what about like the everyday lifestyle that you really like here that you would miss if you moved to Japan and you lived with us?
That's a good question. I think one thing is it's a lot less crowded here in terms of people.
Yeah.
So, although I have to say it's never been really inconvenient. It's never really slowed us down, or it's never been that we had to wait for a seat at a coffee shop, or we couldn't get in somewhere because there were too many people. So it's just a feeling of being always surrounded by a lot of people. Compared to here, it's a rare feeling.
Yeah.
No matter where you go here. Of course, New York City would be quite different, but in this area, it's just kind of a feeling rather than something which actually materially impacts what you can do.
Well, one thing that I kind of felt coming back here, especially getting on the train and going into Boston, is like what you said when you first came to Japan with me in 2014, I think it was.
Yes.
Like you talked about how it's so crowded, but it's like a school of fish where everyone just moves suddenly in synchronicity and no one really hits each other. But then when I'm here and I look at the train station and I'm walking around, there's so many people from different backgrounds, different languages, different religions, different cultures that doesn't really mesh well together. I've actually run into a few people since being here,
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised. Yes, that's, I think, a remarkable thing about in Japan, the way the Japanese people have somehow adjusted to a crowded environment. And I think because Japanese people seem to be so much more respectful of each other than people here, it's not surprising to me that they can be together in very crowded places and still not have these kinds of interactions. Also, because the population here is much more diverse, you have a greater variety of people's perception of what personal space should be around them, whether or not it's acceptable to actually come into physical contact with someone else.
Yeah.
And you mentioned bumping into someone walking, maybe in the train station, it's even worse on the roads here because of the way people have a different understanding of what traffic rules should be followed and which ones can be ignored.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting. So yesterday, I went to go visit one of my friends in Malden, right? And she's Chinese American, and I think a lot of people who watch this channel have an image that America is diverse, but America is like predominantly white, and so when you say you're American, they imagine like a white person, right? Which in the town that we grew up in, there was majority white people, whatever.
Right.
But now, like when I drove from here to Malden, I saw like almost no white people. It was like Latinos, or it was like, especially when you get into Malden, there's lots of Asians there. Right. So like when we walked by, there was like a Chinese restaurant next to like a Vietnamese supermarket.
Right.
And then when we went to my friend's house, her parents have lived here for like 40 years, but they don't speak English because they have their own little community and stuff. Yes. And like if you drive 5-10 minutes away from here, you won't see any signs in English. It's all in Spanish, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And so so like it's cool because you have like this nice variety and stuff, but it does lead to like more friction, I think, because you have different cultures mixing.
It's something I believe economists call societal trust.
Yeah.
Which is that people don't know what to expect from the other person.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a common background, they don't have a common understanding of the way people should behave. I think it's unavoidable to have a loss of social trust when you have an increase in diversity, because people just have different perception of what's normal behavior, what's acceptable behavior, what's inappropriate, what's a nuisance, what's not a nuisance.
So what's something that when you saw our lifestyle in Japan, something that kind of shocked you, or something that you were not used to? Remember, we are recording, so you can't say anything too rude.
Well, I don't really have anything rude to say at all about Japan.
Or no, not necessarily about Japan, but about I feel like Natsumi and I, we have a very typical lifestyle because like I go to work in the afternoons and in the mornings and afternoons, but like you see the way that maybe we eat dinner, the way we cook, the way we live, the way we move, the way we clean.
People buy here a lot on weekends.
Yeah.
This is my favorite house.
Oh,
really?
Thank you.
Kidding me? Look at the window.
Yeah.
You wake up to this and you see that every day.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
It's my dream to have a home like that.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Kind of thing. Thank you.
Just wait a couple minutes. So, like let's just explain what happened because we're not going to cut that out.
Right. Okay.
It's just going to be in here. So, Dad, what just happened?
Well, one of the neighbors, someone I don't know, but someone who walks by here frequently, stopped to share with us that he finds this to be a very attractive house and a very attractive spot to have a house, and that it would be his ideal to have a house in this location with a porch like this and windows of the house looking out over the ocean.
Yeah.
And I agree with him 100%. On the other hand, it's very nice to hear someone else make a comment like that. And,
but I mean, so just to talk about what happened, like we were in the middle of recording this, and he just comes over, takes out his earbud. He's like, whenever I walk by here, this is the house I look forward to seeing to most. I would love to have a house like this with the windows. And it's like have you ever talked to him before?
No, never.
Yeah. So this stranger just walks by, and we're here doing something, and he just starts like sharing his opinion about.
Right.
Like, I mean, it's a complimentary opinion. Like, it's a very positive thing, But like, that's another thing that I'm not used to anymore. Is just random people talking to you, because it happens quite frequently here. They're like, "Oh, that looks so nice," or "Oh, this is so nice." "Oh, hey, how are you?" Right. So like, normally in Japan, like old people will talk to you, but strangers don't really have random short conversations with each other, But
I would say that is something that. I found very different in Japan. I wouldn't say shocking, but it was something to adjust to. That in general, you find that people avoid direct eye contact. Even if someone in a restaurant comes to talk to you, they tend not to look at you while they're talking to you. So there's a different convention for communicating respectfulness with other people. And in America, the level for what's required in terms of showing respect to a person you've never met before is very low. So there's an informality to our culture which many foreigners find attractive, and there is a nice aspect to it. On the other hand, it can easily border on disrespectfulness and uncomfortableness.
Yeah, or like, like I've noticed a lot of, like when I go to restaurants, a lot of times like the servers will like chat with the customers or something, or I thought it was really insightful when we were dropping off Lewis at the bus stop for his kindergarten, right? And the bus came by and the woman asked for everyone, and then she made an announcement. She opened the doors. She made an announcement. She closed the doors. I remember you said, like, Arthur, they don't here. They talk to you. They don't. They talk at you. They don't really talk to you. And I kind of get that, because I remember when I came here and we were in Boston by Haymarket at the public market, whatever, and I got a coffee, whatever, and like the barista guy at the register just started chatting up with me a little bit, just started talking with me about life, like how are you doing and stuff like that. I was like, oh, that would never happen in Japan, and I understand, like, it's more real, but it's like more organic, but because it's more organic, things tend to move a little bit like sloppier, like not as smoothly,
Right.
It's like having a machine made of wood versus having a machine made of metal, or something like that. I don't know. That's just what I'm thinking.
Well, certainly things are a lot sloppier in general here in America. One of the things I love about Japan is the level of cleanliness, and I love the way people treat each other with such respect. People are so polite, and I do have to say, I was at a coffee shop in Tokyo. It was a bakery.
Okay.
And
is this the one near our old house?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And there was a guy, a Japanese gentleman, manning the cash register, and I noticed that he, unlike everyone else that worked there, he was really engaging with each of the patrons, almost like someone would hear.
Yeah.
He was looking at them in the eye. He was smiling at them. There was a direct contact, and I thought, oh, that's very unusual.
Yeah. Wait, so when we don't, you don't have to give the details, but what bakery was that? Can you kind of describe what it was?
That one that's if you go past the train station, the one that Mom likes to go to.
Okay.
Past the train station where it's kind of on the left side as you're going down that pathway.
Okay. I see. Cool. Yeah. So, no, I get that. Yeah. So I mean, so it's funny. It's almost like things are rougher and less convenient, but people are more friendly or like real with each other. Whereas like in Japan, it's like people don't talk as much. I'm sure if you get into like the small towns where you have the older people talking with each other and stuff, it's a little bit different. But in your everyday life, But what's another thing that if you were, let's say, from tomorrow, you're going to live in Japan for the rest of your life, with us, of course. What's something else that you would miss here, you think? Miss from here?
Well, one thing I would miss is the fact that I don't speak Japanese. Mm-hmm. And even if I would love to learn Japanese, but even if I reached a certain level of proficiency in Japanese, I would never be so proficient that I would be able to speak like a native. Mm-hmm. And as a result of that, I would also not understand everything that's being said around me all the time. Mm-hmm. And then slightly separately from that, or related to it, but in addition to that, is the fact that I would feel like I never could completely understand what the people were thinking, how they maybe were perceiving me. Yeah. So, because I grew up in this area here, I have a basic understanding of how people think and how they view things. and I can have a sense by seeing a facial expression or engaging in conversation with someone what they think about me and whether or not they like me, they don't like me, if they agree with me or disagree with me. Whereas in Japan, that would be pretty much a total mystery.
Yeah.
Especially because while I think the respectfulness that Japanese people show each other and foreigners is a wonderful thing, it also disguises what they're really thinking about that person.
Yeah.
So I think I would probably miss the feeling that I understood what people really thought about me as I interact with them on a day-to-day basis.
You wouldn't miss the food at all?
No, I would not miss the food because I love Japanese food, except natto.
Except natto? The only time I've ever seen you spit food out of your mouth before was when we had natto maki.
Well, if you give it to me again, you'll see that again. And also there are sufficient foreign restaurants in Tokyo.
Yeah.
I don't know what it'd be like if I joined you and we were living in a different place, but certainly in Tokyo there's enough variety of food so that I could get what I want. I really enjoyed going to that barbecue place with you.
Which one? Oh, the
barbecue place.
American barbecue place. Yeah. Yeah, right.
As long as I get some barbecue from time to time, and I know there's an Italian restaurant or two.
Yeah.
And besides, Japanese will probably make Italian food and Italian food and pizza and barbecue just as well, if not better. And it's done here.
Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah, I mean, so it's funny because like there are a couple things that I really miss when I come back here. So like one thing, of course, is the seafood. I know Japan makes really, really great seafood, but you know, the seafood here is so unhealthy and delicious, like the fried clams and stuff like that. I mean, I know they have clams in Japan too, but I know that's probably more nostalgia than anything else, I guess. Because like whenever I show like fried clams to my Japanese friends, they're like, that just looks like oil, you know? Yeah. Well, so in that case, so then what do you think, so I mean, you've lived here your whole life, right? You lived north of Boston your whole life, and you've been...
Well, we lived in Germany and the UK for 20 years.
For 20 years, okay. But, I mean, you grew up here.
Right.
You were born here, grew up here. So, what's something that, like, let's say on the opposite side, if you were to move and live in Japan for the rest of your life, what is something that you would be really looking forward to? Like, I'm really happy that I can experience this for the rest of my life. Anything come to mind?
Yes, I think the kind of the let's see, it would in no special order. One, the cleanliness. I just love the cleanliness. I've always been someone who notices if the environment I'm in is picked up and clean, and not. It's always a pleasure to use a restroom in Japan because it's always so clean.
Oh man,
compared to here,
I using a public bathroom here for the first time in like years. Never again.
No, it's really, and I would say also the I guess the word is not professionalism, but just the care with which Japanese people seem to exercise their duties, their job functions. They seem to really care about doing things properly, and I really have a lot of respect for that. I admire that, so I would look forward to that. I would look forward to the food.
Yeah,
I enjoy trying a wide variety of food that I've never had before, and most of what I have when I'm with you in Japan is very healthy. And it feels good to be eating healthy food.
Yeah.
And I think I like the fact that things run well. You know, the trains generally run on time. I think that's important, and it makes me feel good to be in an environment where things are working the way they're supposed to. People feel a sense of responsibility or ownership of the tasks that they have to perform for their job, and they do them well. They pay attention to what they're doing, and things work well. So for me, that's something which means a lot.
Yeah. So one thing, you know, it's really funny. So Alex, my sister, she went to a cafe in like, I think it was Hamilton or something like that up north. And she went by a bakery and she comes back with, what was it? Like a cinnamon coffee cake.
Yes.
Like a blueberry pie.
Delicious.
And like a scone. And you know, she's like, this is so good, right? And she, like, I had a piece and I was like, you know, probably about 10 years ago, I would have thought this was really good. But now, it just tastes like super normal because like the food that you can get in Japan just tastes so much better that I guess my standards have gone a lot higher, you know? So like, I don't know, the only thing that I would probably miss, you know, if I lived in Japan for the rest of my life, besides the ocean here, because I feel like the ocean is different, you know, is honestly just like the old-fashioned seafood style, because you can't get seafood in that style in Japan. You can get very good seafood, but like getting lobster is ridiculously expensive, you know, and I do like lobster and I like other stuff, like the way that, you know, Poogie used to make that, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know, all this stuff here that people are like, oh, this stuff is so good. It's like, no, it's too much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people have different perceptions or understanding of what's good and what tastes good, and you know, for a lot of people, just having really large portions makes it good.
Well, it's like when we went and we got Mexican food that one time, right? Like, I ordered a specialty burrito, right? And the specialty burrito was like the size of my head.
Yeah.
Like you said, is that thing pregnant? Because it was like it looked like it was about to burst, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So like, yeah, I guess in Japan, like the portions are smaller, but food just tends to taste better.
Right.
You know.
I would say, I mean, there are other countries as well where I've experienced that. For example, in France, if you go to nice restaurants in France, the portions will be smaller and the food will taste really good. But you know, the other thing I would also say, when you ask me about what I would miss if I moved to Japan, you know, having lived in a few different countries.
Okay, where else have you lived, by the way?
So I lived in Germany for 15 years. I lived in England for 5 years. I've spent probably a total of 2 years living in France at different times, and I lived for a month in Rome.
In Rome, wow.
I just enjoy. There's always something about the place that I'm in that I really enjoy. So I tend not to miss the things that are absent, and I focus on the things that I really enjoy about it. And of course, most importantly, if I were to move to Japan to be with you and your family, that would be the most important thing.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like you said before, you know, it's not about where you live, it's about the people you're with. You know,
Right.
It's not about the experiences. Like if you're with people who you love, like that's everything right there.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, having great food, I mean, is good, it's healthy, but you know, you want to share it with the people that you love or the people you're friends with, and so that, for me, that always trumps the you know, the quality of the food or the quality of the individual experience.
Yeah. Well, now that Alex, you know, my older sister, your daughter, lives in Berlin, you know, you can spend some time in Tokyo, you can spend some time in Berlin, and you can come to America and you can get, you know, the best of all three worlds.
Yeah. Well, would be nice. The only problem is I always miss the ones that I'm not with.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Because you can't be with everyone at the same time.
Yeah.
That would be my dream, to have us all living together, some kind of communal living. But
somehow.
I realize that's not possible.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to when you guys all move to Tokyo, or to Japan, I would say.
Well,
I'll build a house for you guys.
Well, build it, and I may be there right away.
Well, I think this is a good tone to end this conversation.
Okay.
Thanks, Dad. I'll see you next time.
All right, thank you.
Alright, 最後までご覧いただき誠にありがとうございます。It means the world to me. 他にもこういう動画をご覧になりたい方はぜひこちらからご覧いただけますので、これからも一緒に世界とつながりましょう。See you in the next video. Bye!